In the quiet towns of Russia's Sverdlovsk Oblast, elderly women began dying in their homes. Some were burned, others bludgeoned. Police called them accidents. But one thing tied these deaths together. A woman was behind them. This is the true story of Irina Gaidamachuk, a mother, a wife, and Russia's most prolific female serial killer. Irina Gaidamachuk, often dubbed Satan in a skirt by the media, is a notorious Russian criminal who gained infamy for her involvement in brutal murders as a teenager. This video is a detail of her life, crimes, and legal proceedings. Irina Gaidamachuk was born in 1972 in Nyagin, Norilsk, Krasnoyarsk Krai, Russia. Life was difficult from the start. She grew up in a troubled environment. Her father was reportedly abusive, and her mother struggled with alcoholism. Her father died when she was just a child. Left with a struggling, alcoholic mother, Irina grew up in a cold household. Emotional support was scarce. Love was conditional. Violence was normal. She exhibited signs of aggression and manipulation from a young age. She was described as intelligent but emotionally detached. By the time she reached her teens, Irina had already begun drinking. First at parties, then in secret. Alcohol became her escape, her comfort, her fuel. She dropped out of school early. With few options and fewer dreams, Machuk, often dubbed Satan in a skirt by the media, is a notorious Russian criminal who gained infamy for her involvement in brutal murders as a teenager. This video is a detail of her life, crimes, and legal proceedings. In her early 20s, Irina married Yuri, a truck driver. On the outside, they looked like any other working-class Russian couple. They had 2 children, lived in a modest flat, and seemed to be surviving the difficult post-Soviet era like everyone else. But inside the walls of their home, things were different. Irina's drinking worsened. She would vanish for hours, sometimes days, leaving her young children alone. She would become violent, unpredictable. Yuri, desperate to protect the children, begged her to get help. Eventually, she was committed to a psychiatric facility, but Irina refused treatment. She escaped, forging documents to hide from authorities. She used aliases, changed addresses, and disappeared into anonymity. Behind the mask of motherhood, something darker was forming. Gaidamachuk became infamous for her involvement in at least 3 gruesome murders in 2004. She murdered 17 old women. It was 2002 when Irina killed for the first time. Her target? An elderly woman named Nina, 82 years old. Irina knocked on her door, posing as a social worker. She had learned that old women in the area often received pensions in cash and they were vulnerable. Once inside, Irina struck Nina in the head with an axe she had hidden in her coat. She took a few rubles, just enough to buy vodka, and left. Later that day, Irina sat alone on a bench, sipping cheap liquor, staring into the sky as if nothing had happened. Some of Irina Gaidamachuk's victims are 1. Murder of Vadim K. February 2004. Victim was a 16-year-old boy, Vadim, who was romantically involved with Gaidamachuk. She lured him to a secluded area, where her accomplice, Artur Poyanitsa, her boyfriend at the time, stabbed him 17 times. Her motive? Allegedly, she wanted to prove her loyalty to Poyanitsa, who was part of a satanic cult. 2. Murder of Yegor Nevelin, March 2004. Victim was a 15-year-old boy, Yegor, who was a friend of Gaidamachuk. She and Poyanitsa invited him to a forest, where they stabbed him multiple times and burned his body to hide evidence. Her motive? Reportedly, they believed Yegor was a traitor for speaking to the police about their activities. 3. Murder of Anna Gorbenko, April 2004. Victim was a 16-year-old girl, Anna, who was Gaidamachuk's classmate. Gaidamachuk lured Anna into the woods, where Poyanitsa stabbed her 36 times. Gaidamachuk allegedly participated in the stabbing. Her motive: Anna was killed because she knew about the previous murders. Over the next 8 years, Irina developed a cold and efficient method. She would target elderly women living alone. She'd ring their doorbells and say, "I'm from social services. I've come to help." She gained their trust. Once inside, she'd strike them usually in the head with an axe or hammer. Some she burned, setting their homes on fire to destroy evidence. Then, she would steal whatever money she could find, usually no more than a few hundred rubles, and flee. To neighbors and friends, she was polite, even helpful. She volunteered at school events. She smiled at children. No one suspected the quiet woman with the soft voice. The local police were slow to react. The victims were old. Many of them died in fires. Others were assumed to be accidents. She would kill them with an axe or hammer, then rob the victim for whatever money she could find. Gaidamachuk would sometimes set fire to the victim's home, attempting to cover her tracks, and would occasionally try to make the fire look like an accident. Police had linked the deaths together, but the investigation was slow and lacked many leads. The majority of the crimes were committed in Gaidamachuk's hometown of Krasnofimsk, with some being committed in Ekaterinburg, Sarov, Akit, and Druzanino. The idea that a woman, a mother, could be responsible didn't even cross their minds. For years, they assumed the killer was a man. They questioned the wrong suspects. In one case, an innocent man committed suicide after being interrogated. The truth stayed hidden, while Irina kept killing. In 2010, Gaidamachuk attempted to kill another elderly woman who managed to escape. The victim reported to the police that she was attacked and the attacker was a female, which proved to be a vital clue, as the police had assumed the killer was male. Gaidamachuk killed her final victim, Alexandra Pavaritsina, whose neighbor had seen her leave around the time of the murder. By 2010, Irina had murdered at least 17 women. Some investigators suspect the real number could be higher, up to 30. She became addicted to the power. Killing became routine. Her attacks grew bolder. But that year, in the town of Krasnofimsk, she made a mistake. After murdering another elderly woman, a neighbor saw her leaving the building. The witness described a woman in her 30s, dressed modestly, carrying a bag. For the first time, police considered that the killer might be female. They created a sketch. After the police received the information from Pavaritsina's neighbor, they arrested Gaidamachuk, who quickly confessed to the killings. Another woman who had been initially suspected of the crimes, and after pressure from authorities, had already confessed to the murders. Gaidamachuk stated that she committed the murder robberies to pay for vodka to feed her alcohol addiction, as her husband refused to give her money for it. Irina's husband, Yuri, recognized the police sketch. The image resembled his wife. He confronted her. She denied it at first, but Yuri noticed inconsistencies: bloody clothes, missing money, strange disappearances. Eventually, he reported her to the authorities. When police came to question her, she confessed almost immediately. She showed no emotion, no regret. "I did it," she said. "I needed the money for vodka." In February 2012, the court case began in Ekaterinburg. Gaidamachuk gave a confession to the indictment during the preliminary investigation but contested this throughout her trial. A forensic psychiatric examination conducted by GNTSSSP Serbsky showed that Gaidamachuk, although she showed some mental illness, was legally sane at the time of the murders. Irina Gaidamachuk was charged with 17 counts of murder, robbery, and arson. In court, she sat silently. She never apologized. Her lawyers argued that she was mentally ill. The court disagreed. In 2012, she was sentenced to 25 years in prison, the maximum sentence allowed for a woman under Russian law. The courtroom gasped. Many believed she deserved life behind bars or worse. Relatives of the victims were outraged at the short length of the sentence, citing that Gaidamachuk received only just over a year per killing, adding that she should never be freed. The media dubbed her Satan in a skirt. For many, Irina's crimes shattered the illusion that women are less violent than men. Her case sparked national debates about gender, alcoholism, and how society fails the vulnerable, both the victims and sometimes the killers. Her children were taken into state care. Her husband vanished from the public eye. In prison, Irina reportedly keeps to herself. She has never spoken publicly about her crimes. What makes a killer? Is it trauma, addiction, or something darker within? Irina Gaidamachuk wasn't a monster in the shadows. She was a woman on the street, a mother, a neighbor, but behind closed doors, she was something else entirely. Evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes, it looks like us. Irina Gaidamachuk, Russia's deadliest woman. Subscribe for more true crime stories.